Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tylor. Together we make up Quavre, a couple that loves to play board games.
And share your love with you in hopes of encouraging you to find some games out there for you.
And start your collection.
Exactly.
What do we got for them today?
Today, we're talking about precisely that. So, there are thousands of games out there. And there's probably thousands of great games out there.
No, there is.
There is.
There is.
Correct. So how do you find the game that is your, like, mwah, yes, la 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 game?
La 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 game. You gotta try it before you decide whether
Buy
or not
it.
it's your, that.
So there's,
rhymes.
yeah, that's true. There's board game cafes where you can try games. There's libraries that offer games. There's videos like ours. There's blogs. There's so many media out there for videos. So we thought we'd, throw our hats into the playing field. Is that the expression?
Throw your hats into the circle.
The circle?
Yeah.
The robin's nest?
No.
And give you 5 games that we think are essential, basically must-haves, or 5 games to kick off your collection with, basically.
Yes, okay. I feel like I interpreted this list a little bit differently, but it is essentially that.
Okay, what is your
Mine basically is like, if there was 5 games that I had to like suggest to somebody to start their collection, to get like a broad experience of a lot of different things, these would be the 5 that I would suggest.
That's a very long title.
Yeah, it is. But maybe it'll be helpful.
So how did you choose your 5 games?
Well, my biggest things were like variety. I wanted to give people a variety within the 5 games so that they could experience like different mechanics, different like social interactions, whether that be like hardcore strategic, but not like scary strategic, that you'll never want to play a heavyweight game again, but also like lighter version games on like you can bring this to your family's place and play this with your friends who don't necessarily play board games, and they're easy to teach, they're easy to get to the table, and yeah.
Mine's very similar. Yeah, I focused on like a little bit of everything, mechanics and taste and lightness and complexity. But basically the way I try to gear mine is to make it so at least one of these games will resonate with somebody that you know. So like you have these in your collection, you can pull it out, one of these out for any group.
Okay.
Or not for any, like they're tailored basically that you can choose which games work for which friends and which
from
groups
our
of people.
experience.
So I think mine's gonna be better.
I don't know about that. I guess that can be up to everybody to tell us who's
this is
who's
the
5 they like
versus challenge.
Yeah. So we now know each other's 5s, but we're just finding out about them, and I'm staring and feeling like there could have been some overlap, and I'm surprised there wasn't. So
makes it more fun.
Exactly.
Well, shall we get right into it?
Yes.
In no particular order, here we go.
You go first, though.
Me?
Yep.
Okay. So my first one is going to be The Crew. So I debated very hard to which card game I want to put in.
Right.
Because I think card games are a staple in the board game industry. There's so much joy that can be happened in card games. So I chose this one. It's a cooperative game from Thames and Cosmos, and the designer is Thomas Singh. Your goal in The Crew Mission Deep Sea is to essentially play cards together and win tricks. So if you ever played games like Spades or Hearts or any trick-taking based games, you'll win tricks but in a cooperative sense because each player will have different goals of the tricks that they need to win.
Yeah.
So, and as there's a campaign storyline that progresses as you dive into the deep sea and figure out the mysteries that's below. So the campaign part of it's very interesting. It's a very casual game. It's easy to get into. And what I really like about it from the kind of introductory perspective is it scales in difficulty. So you can start right off the bat and it's not too bad and you're like, oh, this is piece of cake. And then and then like 10, 20 scenarios in, you're like,
my brain hurts.
How do we do this? So it's also quite portable. Small game that you can bring. You can even take it out of the box and kind of put everything in the small bag.
Yeah, it's really just cards.
So it's cards with a little bit of tokens here and there. It's just very clever, and I really enjoyed this game. I can't wait to see more renditions, because the original was Crew Quest from Planet 9. This one, I think, takes it up a notch and makes it a little bit better.
Planet X.
Planet the
9.
ninth.
Oh yeah.
Planet Search for Planet X.
Yeah, okay.
That's a different
names.
So that is why The Crew is my number, or I guess it's one of my 5.
Oh yeah.
No particular order.
This is a good one because it like takes a fairly common or like well-known mechanic of like trick taking and like puts it on its head, where it's like a cooperative version of it.
Cooperative.
So I appreciate this one.
That was the most gentle high 5.
Yeah, I was holding my arm.
Too strong.
Too strong. My first one on the top here is Doodle Dash. Doodle Dash! So basically with this one is it's like a party game. It is a party game, but like you essentially have to make people or a single person guess what is on their card by drawing, and you get points for drawing, or you get them to guess better. Earlier. Yeah, if you draw faster and grab the things from the middle. And it can be quite hilarious. You don't have to be good at drawing. So that's the main thing I would say with this, is it's more about speed. And there's always a good laugh with it. This one in particular can play up to 7 people, which I think is always like a great thing to have. It's great to have a game that can play at a higher player count. Just so you can, make sure everybody feels accommodated for. But it's Doodle Dash. It's published by Chili Fox Games, and it's designed by Buvar and Svensson. And it's just a blast to play. We've had so many laughs with this game. It's just, yeah, it's hilarious. I have like nothing else to say for it besides that I think it belongs on this like 5 game list because it just fits that certain criteria that I'm looking for that the other 4 games did not fit. And yeah.
Everyone should have Doodle Dash.
It's a lot of fun.
I'll say what you said similar for The Crew, is that it takes a very common kind of drawing mechanic and puts a fun twist on it. Because I'm not a particularly big fan of drawing games, but this one I'll play any time of the day because it's such an amazing game.
Yeah. And another reason for this game being on the list is it's easy to teach, it's easy to get to the table, and like almost anybody can pick up on it. So if you're looking for a good laugh, then I would definitely put this in your collection of 5.
Yes. My next game is kind of similar in your vein, which is Just One.
I do like this game. I love this game.
So this was from Repost Production. It's a very popular another party game. But basically what it is it's in the similar vein of Doodle Dash. One person has a word. They can't see what it is, so they say the number from 1 to, I think, 5.
5, yeah.
And then everyone can see the word, and they write one word on their little white dry erase boards to help that person guess. But the catch is that before the person who guesses takes a look at all the clues, if there's any duplicates, they get turned down. So they could be dealing with 6 clues or just 1. And that could be really tricky.
Sometimes 6 clues is worse than 1 clue.
That's true.
That's part of the fun.
So it's a cooperative game. So you're all working together and trying to score the best score. We have not had a perfect game in this yet.
I don't think we have, no.
But again, the reason I really enjoy this one is it is a higher player count. I think it plays up to 7.
Yep.
And I think with the expansion coming out, it can play up to 9, which is really exciting. But there's just a lot of kind of creativity, and on the spot there's a lot of pressure. Try to come up with a word and trying to make sure that you don't put what everyone else puts. There's a lot of kind of fun, just intuitive ways of going through this game. And you jump into it right away. It's very easy to teach, and you often want to try again because you play it first time and you only score 3 out of 13 points.
Yep.
Devastating.
Feels bad.
You got to come back and do better. And then you come back and only score 2. Well, you're playing again because you got to get up there.
Yep. Yeah, and there's a lot of times where like you'll try to write down, or you'll try to think you're being creative and sneaky by writing down something very clever, but sometimes that actually like bites you in the back, because if it's the only clue that stays up, then
bites you in the back.
Bites you in the back.
Not in the bum.
Bites you in the bum.
Bum.
Bites you in the back side, whether that be the back or the butt or whatever.
What is the middle portion between the back and the bum?
That's still part of your back. It's your lower back.
LB.
Your LB. Your LB.
And that's why just one is one of my 5.
My second game that I want to talk about is Cascadia. Cascadia from AEG and Flat Out Games. It's designed by Randy Flynn, and it is just a blast. It's tile placement game where you're basically making these different habitats and making sure your animal tokens are placed on the right habitats, trying to get these certain scoring objectives that everybody is aware of, everybody knows about, and you're all trying to like go for the same goals, and you want to try and score the most points to see who wins. And it's this like brain crunchy type game that like its predecessor was Calico, and I considered putting it on this list, but I think for the purposes of Cascadia, what it does is it provides a little bit more freedom when it comes to creating that grid, that tableau that you're supposed to make to score yourself points. So it doesn't necessarily cause as much stress as I think Calico does. So Cascadia is my choice for this list, and I think it's just like this great tile placement game that's easy to teach, straightforward, has a lot of different like variety that you can add to it because of the different objectives that you can play throughout the game, and
also has a great solo mode.
Oh yes, it does have
scale up with objectives, and you can start very simple. So there's like the initial objectives that are actually really straightforward. You know exactly what to do, and there's kind of scaling up the difficulty too, which is really fun because when you hook somebody in, you can kind of continue the scaling up and make the brains tick harder.
Even more. So you can like maybe expect some analysis by paralysis in this game. Paralysis by analysis. What is it? Paralysis by analysis. Yeah, I said it wrong. Anyways, the other thing I would say about this is like, it's always like this constant grind of like, can you do better than you did before?
Yes.
And I always think that that's a really good thing to have in a game, because you're not only competing against the people that you're playing with, but you're competing against yourself from what you were doing before. And it doesn't necessarily feel like a super competitive strategy game, but you still are trying to do better than everybody, and it provides that for me.
Love it. Okay, next one on my list is Welcome to the Moon.
Welcome to the moon. Why do you do that?
Because it's centered.
But my Ebo is there.
Move your Ebo. So this one's from Blue Cocker Games. Basically, the reason it's on my list is, first of all, it's a great introduction into a flip and right or a roll and right. Second of all, the production quality of this game is just phenomenal. They have dry erase boards, dry erase markers, 8 various maps that scale. They're completely different, are completely their own game. And the first one is very intuitive and introduces you in such a gentle way that you want to continue playing. There's not too many rules. You can set up the cards. Because basically the objective in this game is there'll be 3 sets of cards and numbers. And each turn you'll pick one of them to mark on your board. And with each of the numbers, there's a various action symbol that you can take as well to kind of further your map. And the story in this game and a campaign you can play is you're basically trying to get off the Earth to live on the moon. And through the various maps, you're either blasting off, you're trying to find oxygen, you're trying to fight off infections, you're trying to just basically survive in space. So the narrative of it is really cool, the replayability is really neat, but it's at the heart of it, it's a very intuitive flip and right where you can get immersed into the story and into the game. And again, that same kind of narrative that Tyler was talking about earlier of you'll want to come back as you can do better. And you can improve. There's various ways you can clue in, and different twists on the map definitely leave me coming back for more, and it's a game. And there's a ton of game in this one.
Yeah, my biggest thing with the Welcome to the Moon in particular is it packs a lot into one box. So it's like a great game for this list. Like I can just imagine putting this on a list of like, if you could only have 5 games. That would be really hard to do, but like Welcome to the Moon packs a lot into one game, and it's
up to 6 players. It's fairly short to play. There's so much I love about this game, and that's why it's on my list.
It's Architects of the West Kingdom.
How do I know what game it is? There's no letters.
That's true. Front. It's because I have the big box.
The collector's edition?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a lovely game. Anyways, Architects of the West Kingdom. So for most of you who watch our YouTube channel, you know that Paladins is my favorite game by far. But
Of
like
all time.
yeah, but I couldn't put Paladins on this list.
Why?
I think it's a little bit too intense. It's really meaty, and like the thing with Paladins is I find that when you play it, is it's like you can't go back and play it right away. I mean, like I could, but like I know other people who would say like, okay, I've played it once, I can have a break from it and we're good. But besides the point, Architects is like a step up or a step down, I guess, from Paladins, where it's not as complex. It is this pretty straightforward worker placement game that introduces exactly that. Like, my favorite mechanism by far has to be worker placements. There's no doubt about that. And I think Architects is like a perfect way to learn and do worker placement games. So for that reason, I put it on our list. And basically all you're doing in this game is you're placing your workers, gathering resources, making different types of buildings, working towards what's called a cathedral, and essentially hiring different people to help you along the way. So you do all of these things, you end up collecting all these resources, but then you have this like fun twist of being able to like take other people's workers away from the board so that their actions are no longer as valuable. And it's just this nice way of getting your workers back, but also like speeding up the game where there's no reset in rounds or anything along those lines, and it just feels very smooth.
This game is I agree with this being a top 5 kind of essential game, just because when I first got introduced to me, what piqued my interest immediately is the slight introduction to the take that element in games. Because immediately the first thing I think I heard about this game was you can put other people's workers into the jail and kind of getting them there.
Yeah.
So basically that element of it is really interesting because the more that you put workers you put into one space, the more you get out of it. But if you put too many, it kind of gets everybody around you to be like, Tylor is really taking advantage of this spot.
Yeah.
So everyone, like that social dynamic is really interesting, and which is why I really enjoy this game.
Yeah, and then like on top of that, like there's a couple expansions that you can get into if you really go for it. And it just adds a little bit more to the game. It helps the game out a little bit more, and I think, yeah, it just deserves this. Obviously, I picked it, so it deserves a place on this list. And yeah,
Architects. 2 more to go.
Yeah, we're on 4.
Okay.
4th game.
So mine is Ebo. So this is Above and Below. It's designed by Ryan Lockett and published by Red Raven Games. And I have a really special place in my heart for this game because it's one of the first that kind of made me fall in love with board games.
Yeah, it definitely helped. Definitely pushed our hobby.
So this game has so much in it that I just absolutely love. So basically you're trying to establish your settlement and you're in this new kind of area and there's a lot below the land that you can explore. And a lot of kind of resources, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of riches that you can earn. So it's a lot of kind of resource collection, and you're trying a bit of set collection as well. There's a lot of narrative aspect to this game. But what really stands apart is you can really play this game the way that you want to play. Because sometimes it makes the most sense to just use your workers to get the resources to convert them to points. But sometimes you'll want to go and explore in the below and take a little bit of risks. Maybe you don't have enough, but maybe you're going to go for it and hope it pays off for you to get a treasure or discover something new. And this game, we played it so many times early in our board game, Passion World. And I think every time it just left such a memorable experience. Every time it just touched my heart in such a way, and I can't wait to revisit it actually. It's been a while since we played it, but this is a game I highly, highly would recommend anyone to try because it just has such a unique element to it that kind of introduces that balance of here's mechanics, here's the functional board game piece, but here's a bit of story, and what can you really do in this world of Above and Below?
Yeah, my particular thing with this game is it really draws you into the world. So like when you go travel below, you get to read through this narrative, decide how you want to act, and then like obviously based on what you're doing, you get different opportunities to be able to like capitalize on all of that stuff. And I think it's very interesting the way that this does it, because if you are looking at this strategy, there's like ways to do it where you're maintaining your above and then always still going into the below to make sure you do capitalize on when you can. And I think it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun.
I love this game.
All right, my fourth one is this one right here. Wingspan! This is published by Stonemaier Games. It's designed by Elizabeth Hargraves. Hargrave? Okay, sorry. Elizabeth Hargrave. And it's basically this engine builder about birds. And I think like a lot of what I was going for when I was doing this, I think I said this at the beginning of the video, is like a variety of different mechanics that like can help you build a foundation of figuring out like what you like in a board game. And I think Wingspan does it in a very good way. It's this like almost card drafting type game where you are building this tableau of different birds in 3 different environments. And you go through these different sequences of like very straightforward sequencing of an engine where you're just following your birds through the habitat and doing exactly what they say on the cards. So the game looks like a lot, but when it comes down to it, once you start playing, you have these like nice little eggs that are not edible, but they sure do look like they are. And you can literally just move them from left to right.
Not the eggs, the cubes.
Well, the cubes. You could move the cubes left to right and then just follow along, and it flows very well. You start to see these patterns build when you see new birds come up, and it's just very exciting to like figure out a bunch of different strategies that you can go for.
The corvids.
Yeah, there's like a lot of different birds in this game, so you can go for a lot of different strategies, and it's fun to figure that out. So going along the vein of like always trying to beat yourself, like this is another game that lets you do that. The more and more you play it, the more and more you figure out about the game, the more cards you get to see, and it's just like a nice, subtle engine building game that packs a punch, because it's not that easy, but it is like pretty straightforward once you get going with it.
I really like the aesthetic in this game. I think it with dice tower being a little birdhouse, with the dice being like chunky wooden dice, and like Tyler said, all the birds are unique as well, and they have a little fun fact on them that you can read. It's such a pleasing game to have at the table. And it also has kind of like a quick start guide that can basically walk you through and introduce you to the game in a very cohesive way that just makes it easy. That makes it easy to continue, easy to grasp some of the prime concepts, and then learn as you go.
Yeah.
Wingspan.
Last but not least, number 5. The fifth,
in no particular order.
The 5th of the game.
So I said Space. So as you can tell, this is the command station. So this is the expansion for it. But the core game is one of my favorite games to introduce to people. Basically what you're doing is you're rolling dice, and based on what the dice are rolled, you'll get benefits and monies that you can earn to upgrade and deploy ships. And it's a little bit of an engine builder as well, because the more ships you deploy, the more that you get. But the best part in this game is that you're playing basically every turn. Because when it's your turn, you roll the dice and get the blue benefits on your board. But when it's somebody else's turn and they roll the dice, you get the red benefits, how the benefits happen is you deploy ships, and those ships are in the certain sections of the numbers get activated on other players' turn. So you're basically trying to either play the odds and go for like the 7s, 8s, or 6s, which get rolled more often. Supposedly. Or you go spicy and go for some of those like 11s or 12s, which get rolled less, because that's just the way the odds work. But the cards there are usually better.
Yeah, well, they definitely are.
So it's kind of that balance, and it's such, like, the reason I think it's one of the essential games to have is because there's so many games where you take a turn and then you kind of get disconnected from the game because you're like, I'll think about it when it's my turn again. But this game keeps you engaged throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
You're very excited the whole game because every dice roll could mean that you get currency, that you get your starship power, that you succeed and win. And we've had some amazing experiences playing this game. We also, as you can see, we've expanded and upgraded. We've played both the Sega expansions. There's just one of my favorite games, and it's also designed by John D. Clare and published by Alderac. What do you think of Space Base?
I love this game. I hate this game.
Tyler always goes for sevens.
I like to play the odds in this game, and sometimes it lets me down, so that's a little disappointing. But like, also that's how it works, right? Like, it's a dice rolling game. You can't always play the odds, and you can't always be lucky. So it's fun, I think, because like you can play whatever strategy you want, and sometimes it's never going to work, but other times you like win big, and it feels really good. So,
win big. Space Base.
The last game I want to talk about is a little bit on the heavier side, I would say. And it's Dune Imperium.
Spooky, spooky.
Spooky, spooky. Dune Imperium is published by Direwolf, and it's designed by Paul Dennen. So Dune Imperium, it's a worker placement game. No surprise. But it's a worker placement game with a twist in the fact that it's also a deck builder. So you get to do two different things in this game. And the reason I've included this is because, well, I've included Architects already. And Architects is a good worker placement game. So once you've played Architects, I think that this is like a good segue into now you know what worker placements are.
Not Paladins?
Nope. Well, I didn't include Paladins in the list. So let's play Dune Imperium because we've already nailed down the worker placement aspect, but we'll learn about deck building while we're at it. And I think that this game does a really good job, in my opinion, with the deck building piece of it in particular. The worker placement is great, but I think like there's a lot more interesting and focusable points in the deck building aspect that can really like launch your strategy. So yeah, exactly. So basically in this game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect resources, build your like little empire, and fight towards having your like the best situation possible where you, of the families that are in this Dune world, are coming out on top. Factions, yeah. And then, so there's a little bit of, like, not area control, but there's a little bit of, like, war that is happening between you and the other players that you've got to prepare for through placing workers. You've got to collect your resources so that you can buy more cards. And the strong piece to this is that instead of, as with Architects, you have the freedom to kind of place wherever you want, these are locked spots.
Restriction.
Most of them are locked spots. So once somebody places there, then you have to wait until the round is over for it to be free again, and then hopefully you'll be able to place there again. So it adds a little bit more difficulty to that worker placement thing, but like I said, I think it really shines in the deck building aspect, and it's a good opportunity to like play this game and learn about those deck building pieces to potentially seek out other games that might be in the same veins.
But the one thing Tyler didn't mention is that this is based off an IP, so that's a great way to also draw people in. With a new movie recently out, you can say, well, why don't we experience Dune for ourselves? And it can draw audiences from who read the book all the way back in the day, or
watch the old movies that were like, and then
or
the newest movies.
Kind of the new generations as well, as the Dune world continues to thrive and welcome new fans to their hearts.
Exactly.
And that is
my fifth game, Dune Imperium.
So that's been our 5 essential must-have games that are nice to start a collection. What was your long?
My list is basically the 5 games that I think would help show variety in the board game world to get a piece or sense of what you might be interested in.
Thumbs up. So now in the true fashion of the verses, we have 2 questions of the day for you. Question number 1. Who succeeded in the lists?
Whose list are you choosing?
Exactly.
Straight up. Mine.
Or mine.
Mine.
And why? Tell us what particularly drawn you to one of them or the other ones. And the second question of the day is, if you had to make a top 5 must-have list in your collection, what would it be?
Exactly.
And why?
Yeah.
And how would you tailor it? What would your methodology be? How would you come up with the way that the games flow into your collection?
Yeah, because we obviously took very different, we didn't take very different takes on it, but
similar approaches,
but
variety,
variety,
some narrowing down, but overall lots of fun and lots of joy for the games.
Exactly. Well, with that said, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you sticking around until now. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you want to keep watching our videos because we make content weekly. And
we hope that the games that you play give you the la la la.
the la la la.
La 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 la.
Until next time, though, this is us heading out to probably play some more games.
Games.
Games. Bye.